Good morning. It's good to have you join us on Nigerian Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, 2S Television. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Adebayo Fajime.
Good morning, Mr.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right, we have a couple of newspapers for you this morning, and let's begin from Business Day. The banner headline right there is Dangote, Nestle, others lift stock market first time in 8 months. We have a story right there, just besides that one. How Asia's job criterion worsens Nigeria's unemployment crisis, and that can be found on page 30. And then we see South Africa's digital COVID vaccine certificate points way for Nigeria. That can be found on page 2 of the Business Day newspaper. We move over to the Nigerian News Direct. That's coming from the very top. NCC not disqualifying Nigerians from getting SIM. That can be found on page 3. Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions, TETFUN, holds public hearing on 3 bills. We can find out on page 10. Seplat Energy Summit hosts experts on energy transition. The banner headline right there is 16.39 trillion naira fiscal framework. Senate alleges revenue diversion by MDAs. 2 riders. The first approves revised fiscal framework. The second orders MDAs to generate 1 trillion naira revenue annually. Then we see just underneath the picture of the day there, Shanwolo names Bagada Housing Estate after Ndubisi Kanu. And that can be found on page 3. And just underneath that, Dangote Cement leads income taxpayer table with 97.24 billion naira. You can find it on page 15. And then Nigeria's payment system attracts $500 million investment in 5 years. And that's coming from the CBN. All of that can be found on the Nigerian News Direct. A blueprint newspaper right here is horse riding bandits kill 18 in Zamfara, 10 slain in Katsina. 2 riders, gunmen abduct Kano University student, demand 100 million naira ransom. The second, 10-year-old, 3 others kidnapped in Ekiti. And we can find out in pages 6 and 18. And just before we continue with the headlines right there, this particular story on insecurity, we are seeing a kidnapping and killing one in Zamfara state. And now we're not just seeing northern Nigeria, we're seeing Ekiti state, which is south, the western state of the country. What do you have to say about all of this happening?
Well, it is obvious, like we have been reading and hearing, that the battle against insecurity is yet to be won, and that still tells us that there is much for us to do as a nation to ensure that everybody can live with their 2 eyes closed. Do you understand? So this tells us that there is still much for us to do, especially government, to ensure that all these problems come to an end.
Yeah, before now, there's been like more hit in the the northeastern part of the country, in Borno State, Sokoto, Zamfara. But now we're seeing it cripple into Ekiti State and kidnappings and everything. How do you think we can come, to a stop, to a halt, a final halt on all of this? And what measures do you think that we can take?
Well, government have been taking measure, and if you remember, before now, state governors and all other stakeholders have been, clamoring for state policing and all of that, and that's what even bring about these regional security outfits, like we have Amotekun in the southwest, and ASN in south and in southeast. So I think it's a way for us to go, and especially if we have community, state policing and with the effort of this regional security outfits, if they can come together, collaborate and ensure that our intelligence is so strong, so as to ensure that all these bandits and who are terrorizing our people, raping, killing, so I think that will really help us. And also, most of these forests that we are not even putting into use, government can also take advantage. It's high time government can take advantage of that and put it into use. There are so many bush areas, not being used, and we say, okay, we want to diversify economy, we want to do this, we want to do that. Yet we have horribles of land, not being used. So it's another way, because these people are hiding in those places. You will never find them on the street. Even though we have majority of them living, mostly the informants, living among the people, but you never find, especially in the northern part, you never find them on the streets in big houses. They are always in the bush. So I think that will help us, and it's going to go a long way.
All right. Still on the Blueprint newspaper, we see WHO approves malaria vaccine. That can be found on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. The banner headline right there is talking about Anambra gubernatorial elections. PDP cries foul as federal government considers state of emergency. We have 3 riders. The first is we have a responsibility to ensure democratic order. That is coming from Malami, the AGF. Perish the thought it's ploy to rig poll. Ologbodinya and Abga is saying that. Ohaneze cautions military on escalation of violence. Now, this particular story on Anambra gubernatorial elections, I mean, before now, we've seen the stories on, IPOB declaring state of emergency in some part of the eastern part of the country. And they're saying, some people were saying, okay, we can go ahead if the federal government is doing its bit, if the state government is doing its bit, and we have security personnel on ground. Now, we are seeing there's a declaration of a state of emergency from the federal government, and PDP is crying that this is not supposed to be. What do you take of all of these happenings?
Well,
because on one part, it's declaring a state of emergency is a way of quelling and making everything that's happening in security state of the nation come to a halt. And then we have another part where we have to do the election. So where do we start to draw the line between what to do? What is the priority in this case?
Declaring a state of emergency may work, but how sure are we that government in power has good intention? Because when you declare a state of emergency, it's an approach to suspend constitutional procedure in a particular state. So when that happens, we all know the result. And here we have election coming up. Today is 7 now, so less than 30 days in the state. So because the way our nation is wired in the political aspect, there is no way it's not going to generate tension. And now the PDP are saying, why is it that it is now that we are considering a state of emergency?
Why not before?
Why not before? So, and we have seen what happened, especially in the last couple of weeks, what has been happening in that state, especially in Nnewi. One of their best brain, Dr. Akunyili, was killed, and just Sunday, another APC chieftain, Joe Igboku, also alleged that his home was razed, and all of that. So I think what our leaders need, regardless of where you belong to politically, we need to have this passion. We need to have this heart for people, not just for party's sake and all of that. So, and I keep saying it, until we are able to drop, this political toga in differences and, come together as a people to address the problem that is confronting us, we will not progress. Because the way these people are playing it, it's not going to help. If they declare state of emergency, so are we sure that this is going to help? So it's all about leadership and intention. So I don't see anything coming out good. I don't see anything good coming out of this until we are able to have a good mind in approaching this thing. So whatever they say they want to do, of course, but I don't think it's a very good way to go at the point.
All right, you can grab the copy of the Blueprint newspaper and get all of the updates on that particular story. We see Buhari presents 16.39 trillion naira 2022 budget today, targets 10.13 trillion naira revenue. That can be found on page 5 of the Blueprint newspaper. And the Daily Trust banner headline right there is talking about IPOB killings. Federal government more state of emergency in Anambra. Of course, I've just spoken about that story. You can get the update on that particular story on the Daily Trust newspaper. And don't forget, you can always get our updates on every other story on our website. That's on www.tostvnetwork.com. And of course, join our social media platforms. Follow us and get updated on TOS TV Network across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, thank you so much for joining us this time. Again, I am Merciful Ajinamo. See you tomorrow.